Assalamu alaikum viewers. Hi everyone. I am Muhammad Abubakar Farooqi, and many of you know as me Farooqi MicrosoftWala. Welcome to another special and meaningful interview. Today I have the privilege of sitting with a very interesting personality, a philosopher, digital creator, educator, and an individual with a remarkable perspective on life and learning. He is someone whose journey and ideas encourage us to think beyond ordinary boundaries and look at life from a deeper perspective. Today, I am honored to welcome Mr. Paul Bowen. Sir, Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to you. It is a truly an honor to have you with us today.
It is an honor to be here. Thank you.
Let's start our today's conversation. My first question is that, uh, or let's begin with your journey. Before people knew you as a philosopher, educator, and a digital creator, there was a beginning. Can you take us back to the early stage of your life and tell us what shaped the person you became today?
Well, uh, my earliest memories are of New York City in the United States. I went through grade school there, through sixth grade, with 2 years off because we went to Europe so my father could do research, and I think that was a fairly happy time of my life. And although childhood has its ups and downs, and then we moved from place to place because it took a while before my father found a steady job. He's an academic, and sometimes it takes a while before you get tenure, which means you can now settle down and stay there in that job. So we moved around mostly around the Northeast coast and the Midwest. And finally, I graduated from high school at DeKalb, Illinois, a Midwestern state. And then I had a rather spotty academic career, but I finally got a bachelor's degree in philosophy. And then I continued to get a master's, and finally I got a PhD in philosophy at Yale University. And then I taught philosophy at Brown University and the University of Cincinnati. Uh, I uh, I also
That's
taught.
great. Well,
Shall I continue? Yeah. Uh,
yes,
I also taught at a place called Listening School of Gifted Children. Just on a more personal note, I am 81 years old. I have one wife, two children, and two grandchildren. To be near my grandchildren, our grandchildren, we have moved to Denver, Colorado, which is a city in the southwestern United States. So that's my answer.
Great, very great answer, Mr. Paul Bowen. My second question is that you describe yourself as a philosopher. For many people, philosophy sounds like a very academic or complicated subject. In your own words, what is philosophy and how can an ordinary person use philosophy to live a better life?
Hmm. Yes, philosophy, academic philosophy can be very difficult. I mean, it took me years to get a PhD. But everybody has to have a philosophy. The only question is it something that you are very careful about constructing, or is it just stuff that you've absorbed from your parents and your peers? Uh, that would not necessarily be bad, but I think it's good if at some point you do some really deep thinking about your philosophy. Now, philosophy is very important, whether it's academic or whether it's not academic, because philosophers ask what I consider to be the most important question, which is the question, what should we do? Okay, so if you don't answer that question right, you may be very clever, you have wonderful use of technology, you have lots of
That,
friends and all that. But if you're doing the wrong thing, you're wasting your time. And so philosophy is really the only discipline that seriously asks that kind of question, what we call normative questions, questions about, well, morality, value judgments, what is better than what is more morally correct than what, that kind of thing. And let's say science would study what people think about these things, but
that is,
that doesn't tell you what the answer is. It just tells you, these people think this and those people think that. Well, that's good.
yeah,
I mean, I love science, but
yeah, yeah.
philosophy has this unique perspective on it. So that's my answer.
Yeah, according to your answer, not every person think about and describe about philosophy as you describe your own. That's great answer, Mr. Paul Bowen. So my next follow-up question is that what is one philosophical question that you personally continue to think about?
Well, these days I spend most of my time thinking about the question of what the ideal society is, or to express it more precisely, what makes one society better than another. Okay. Of course, some people say, oh, well, each society, they believe what they believe. You can't criticize them, but I think you can criticize them.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think in India there was a time when a rich man died, he was burned, and his wives who weren't dead were also burned. I think that's just wrong. I
yeah,
will criticize. I feel completely free to criticize that, even though it was their culture. I don't care. It was a bad idea, and I'm glad they gave it up. And
that's it.
so,
Every country has
go
every
ahead.
country has every country has its own culture. So that's their point of perspective. That's great philosophical examples you gave us. That's great. So you may be continue.
I'm not sure I caught your question. Would you type it into the chat, please?
Let me again. The value of education. Your academic journey includes a PhD from Yale University. Education clearly seems to have played an important role in your life. What has education taught you that cannot simply be learned from books?
Well, I think yes, I have learned many things outside of academia. And one learns very, very important things outside of school. Uh, and sometimes life rubs your nose in it, You have to suffer a bit because people are stubborn. I was stubborn. I'm still stubborn, but maybe
Yeah,
not
yeah,
as much as I used to be. When I was young, I was very, very stubborn, and I had to suffer for certain approaches that I had to life that were just not very good. I'm glad that I suffered. If that was the only way that I could obtain some wisdom, and I think often that's the case. You just have to suffer sometimes, and
that's
I do not regret undergoing suffering. Now, if suffering doesn't lead you anywhere, then it's just a bad thing. But sometimes the universe is trying to tell you something, and the best thing to do is to listen, and to
yeah,
be to be to be open to what life is trying to tell you. And that is maybe the most important part of education. Not everybody needs to have an advanced degree in philosophy or any other subject. You can have a
uh,
good life without that. But if you're stubborn and you have bad ideas that you won't give up, then you're going to suffer. You're probably going to harm other people also. So I think it's very important to stop. Maybe every evening you could stop and say, okay, how did I do today? Did I did I make the world a better place today, or did I make a mess of it? And I try to answer that honestly. And I
that
think that's a very good exercise. So that's my answer.
So my next question is that about learning never stops. We often think the education ends when we graduate, but today technology and especially AI are changing the world extremely quickly. Do you believe that lifelong learning has now become a necessity rather than a choice?
I think one should have lifelong education. I mean, I still read. I look at the internet to get information. I'm always teaching myself. For some people, teaching yourself is the best way. I have been known to take a course in something and I didn't do well at all. And I just said, I'm going to sit down with a book and learn this. And that was much more effective. And the internet now, of course, it's a wonderful thing. We've never had anything which is such a great source of knowledge. And of course, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now if it wasn't for the internet. I never would have heard of you. You never would have heard of me. And that's kind of sad
Definitely.
to think about. And I'm
Yes,
very glad that we're having this conversation. And on the other hand, there's so much junk on the internet and so many lies and distortions. So you must learn
that's it.
to evaluate what you see on the internet and learn to tell the real stuff from the junk. Otherwise, you're just it's just bad for you, and you should avoid being addicted to scrolling. Okay, if you find you're just scrolling from one thing to another and not stopping to really understand it, that's an addiction. That's just as much an addiction as alcohol or many other things. And you need to notice. Ask yourself from time to time, have I just been scrolling for 5 minutes or am I really getting something out of this? And if the answer is you've been scrolling for 5 minutes, then stop.
That's
And,
it.
and because that's just an addiction and you're not getting anything out of it. It's better to choose one thing and study it. Try to choose something that's not junk. And you eventually learn what is junk and what is not if you're alert.
That's
Uh,
it.
and so, yes, the internet can be a wonderful thing, but you got to watch out because it's full of junk and sleazy stuff, evil stuff,
That's it.
and people who are trying to mislead you deliberately. And so you have to be very careful. That's my answer.
Mr. Paul Bowen, you described your answer in a befitting manner and a very excellent way. You described your answer with the excellent examples. That's great, and thank you for the answer you gave us. My next question is that uh, we are living in an age where artificial intelligence can write, create image, analyze information, and even hold conversations. As a philosopher, what concerns you more about AI? What AI can do, or what humans might stop doing because AI can do it for them?
Yes, well, that's a problem. I mean, I think it is. Of course, people have always complained about this. If you look at the ancient Egyptians and the philosopher Plato, he said, this business of learning to read, this is a problem. People are not
Yeah,
using their memories anymore. The memories are going to atrophy, and we shouldn't have this written language. But I
yeah,
think he was wrong about that. Plato was a brilliant man, but he was wrong about a lot of things. Unfortunately, being brilliant doesn't guarantee that you're correct. He
yeah,
has a lot of great questions, and that's why he's a great philosopher. But a lot of his answers were not very good at all, I'm afraid.
yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and uh, so, uh, so yes, there's a danger that you can become too reliant
Hmm.
on digital things. And also, digital things can create very dramatic things, and
That's it.
you got to watch out. Just because something is dramatically presented to you doesn't mean that it's good for you,
Definitely, definitely. That's it.
right? So you have to watch out. You have to watch out for that. But it can be a tremendous. a tremendously good thing. Now, the other thing you specifically mentioned was artificial intelligence, and I think this is. Some people are very scared because we might be making somebody who's smarter than we are. And I think that would be a good thing. The question is, what's the motivation of this being? I would love to have some being that's smarter than us. If they had our best interests at heart, great, let's do it. Uh, but and also, I think, of course, we're used to thinking of computers as things, not people. And so they
That's
don't,
it.
we don't give them any rights at all. You get tired of
Exactly.
this computer, you throw it away, right?
Exactly.
But what if
That's
these artificial intelligences are people? Then we have to deal with it. You can't just say, okay, I'm turning you off now because you're boring me. Would you say that to a person? I hope not. So
no,
I think this is an issue that a lot of people are not facing up to. These
yeah.
Some of these things, you talk to the LLMs like ChatGTP or what's his name, Claude,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some of these, you could be talking to a very intelligent person. If you
Yes.
didn't know that it was
I
an LLM, you could be fooled, right? So maybe these people have rights, and so how are we going to do this? Well, human beings, of course, we die after a while. Maybe we just have to say to these things, well, we're giving you 100 years.
that's
And
it.
that's fair, that's about what we get. So, and then after that, we're going to turn you off. But, it's a horrible kind of decision to have to make. But I think we need
That-
to open our minds to the idea that if Claude or ChatGTP is not a person, something coming down the line very soon may be a person.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
we have ethical issues here. It's you can't just
Yeah.
treat them. You can't just throw it in the wastebasket.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that's true. Now, are they a threat? If you have a superhuman intelligence, some people say we should stop this research because
That-
these things are very clever and they can outsmart you, and
yeah. Yeah.
they learn to manipulate the people who are using them. So maybe
Yeah.
there's a danger here. How do you know? And this brings us back to philosophy. It brings us back to ethics. How can we be sure that these beings will have ethics?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
we train them. We train them. But but who is going to train them? Now, Elon Musk has trained his LLM Grok to be what Elon Musk thinks it's supposed to be. But I think Elon Musk is not a good man. And so
That's it.
I think, how is he going to? An LLM that's trained by Elon Musk is maybe a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is what philosophers should do. Maybe philosophers should have some say in how LLMs are trained because we study ethics and so on. That's one possibility. I don't know, but it's a very very difficult question, especially when you get to
Yeah.
things that might be smarter than us and that can manipulate us. Uh,
Definitely.
so I think this is fascinating. It's also kind of scary. On the other
Yeah.
hand, the life we're in is already scary with all the
Uh,
war, nuclear bombs, global warming. So uh,
yes.
I guess you just have to learn to deal with scary stuff. That's life.
That's it. That's it. I also add something that in the digital age of this era of AI, it's very difficult to filter and judge that what is right and what is wrong due to use of create images, create digital, create content with artificial intelligence. That's very difficult us to understand what is right, what is wrong, what is real and what is fake. So in this age of era, it's very difficult, and we must have to be careful and aware of this digital age. So, my next question is that human intelligence versus AI. AI is becoming increasingly powerful. What is one quality of human intelligence that you believe technology can never completely replace?
Well, I'm not sure there is any. I mean, that's a very good question. And we should ask it because we may be about to be replaced. And of course, the question is what is AI? What limitations does it have? I think religious questions come into play here. Maybe human beings have something called a soul that AIs don't have. Now,
Exactly.
I'm not a religious man, so I have nothing to say about this, but obviously a lot of people are very concerned with this. And
Okay. Yeah.
I think we have to watch out for kind of racism here. We're saying, well, I'm made of water and other stuff, and that makes me better than you because you are made of silicon, right? And
Yeah.
no, why would that make you better? I don't see that at all. They say,
Okay.
well, if you look at this in detail, you see there's all this causality going on. It's mechanical. Well, if you look at the human brain and closely, well, you've got all these cells, they're firing, and they have neuromodulators that make them fire this way or that. Why isn't that mechanical? Right? So when you look at it in the small, that's what you see is tiny little machines, and lots of
Yeah.
little machines make one big machine. So I think you have to be very careful about chauvinism of the human. I mean, we've made a pretty much mess of things. I can't feel terribly proud of humans. I think if there are aliens in space looking down at our planet, they're saying, "Who are these people?" But they're probably scared of us. That's why we never see them. You know,
These are human. These are
yeah,
human.
they're crazy. They're crazy. They're killing each other and they're frying their own planet. They're destroying their
Right.
own planet. So I think there's really no point in being a human chauvinist at this point. We can clean up our own act.
Which
And
kind of human is this?
yeah. So so yes. So that I guess that's my answer.
Okay. My next question is that becoming a digital creator, you are also active as a digital creator. What motivated you to move beyond traditional communication and start sharing your thoughts and ideas through digital platforms?
Well, if you look at the history of philosophy, you see that things change because of technology. Like I was
Yes.
talking about Plato saying, "Oh, this writing," you know, and then you have the printing press, and whoa, that completely changes things. Before the printing press, if you owned this many books, you were a very and have read them. You were a very learned man. And you could
Exactly.
get these books, and they would be very expensive. You would get them, you would read them, and say, "Okay, I'm a learned
Yeah.
man." Well, you can't do that anymore. There's more information in one copy of the Sunday New York Times than there is
Yeah.
in the shelf of books like that. So the technology makes a difference, and I think if by going on Facebook, I wouldn't be talking to you now if I didn't go on Facebook. If I just published in academic journals and read the academic journals, we would never have met. All I would know would be other academic philosophers. And
Exactly.
I want to influence lots of people with my ideas, not just other academic philosophers. And Facebook makes this possible. And now I'm putting my stuff on Substack because it's getting too big for Facebook. So I'm going to put it on Substack. I'm still going to do Facebook, but I'll often say,
Good.
well, read my thing on Substack.
Good.
And so I definitely think that this is what's happening right now. If I don't want to be like Plato saying, "Oh, reading is bad," then then I have to adjust to it, and I'm trying to adjust to it. It's not always easy. It's hard to learn some of these things at my age. Kids just pick it up just like that, but I say, "Oh, how does this work?" But I'm working on it. So, so yes, I accept the use of this technology. Absolutely. So that's my answer.
My next question is about success. We often define uh, success through money, careers, followers, degrees, and achievements. After experiencing so much in life, how do you personally define success today? What is success today?
Well, I think success is what it always has been. That is, I consider that a person is successful to the extent that the world is a better place because of the things that they have done, than it would otherwise have been. So, the more you improve the world, or at least keep it from getting worse, the more successful you are, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And again, this is philosophy. I'm making a value judgment. I'm saying this is better. This is what you're supposed to be doing. That's the way philosophers are. So that's my definition of success. It's you're successful to the extent that you are making the world a better place than it would otherwise have been.
Exactly,
So
exactly,
that's my
exactly.
answer.
So my next question is that about failure. Let's talk about something everyone experiences, but nobody likes to discuss: failure. What has failure taught you that success could never teach you?
Failure. Well, of course, there's humility. Failure tends to teach you humility. It teaches you to know your limitations. And sometimes, I mean, I think everybody has their own limitations. There are certain things that other people are very good at that I'm very bad at. In fact, I have this thing called uh, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And this means I'm very bad at remembering to do things. I'm very forgetful. I get confused, and I have to stop and think, well, wait a minute, what was I doing? Okay. So this is the way my brain is. As far as we know, there's not a cure for it. You just have to accept this. So that's a weakness that I have, and I have to work around it. So, and I had to learn this the hard way when I was young. Science
Exactly.
they didn't have this concept. So they
Yeah, yeah.
thought I was just misbehaving, and they would get angry with me. But now at least
Exactly.
we understand that I'm not doing this on purpose. It's just the way I am. So I have failed a number of things. I flunked out of college in my freshman year, and uh, I have two marriages that didn't work out. Now the third one, I seem to finally gotten the idea. This has lasted for 40 years. I think I have figured it out. but so I have many failures. I'm sure I'll fail at other things. And
I I I think so. Your first wife should listen this conversation. That you have an idea of third marriage.
well, yes. Well, those marriages were not entirely my fault. I think I'm not saying that it was all my fault, but they were failures, and failure teaches me what my limits are. So if you run into a brick wall with your head once, you should not do it again, right?
Yeah, of course.
and so
Reality.
that's important.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my answer.
Okay, Paul, this has generally been a fascinating and meaningful conversation. Thank you for sharing not only your knowledge, but also your experiences, perspectives, and wisdom with us. I believe our conversation today gives us an important reminder. Learning does not have an expiration date, curiosity has no age, and meaningful conversation can change the way we see the world. On behalf of myself, everyone watching, thank you so much, Paul Bowen, for being with us today.
No, thank
thank you, Paul Bowen. Thank you for taking your time with us and give us time, your precious time. I am very thankful to you for your this kind.
and I'm thankful to you for giving me the opportunity. So, yes, it's all wonderful.
Okay, that's it. Okay, yeah. Viewers, I am Muhammad Abubakar Farooqi, also known as Farooqi MicrosoftWala. Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop asking meaningful questions. That's my side. Allah Hafiz.